So as you can see from that picture, this is exactly what you'd be trying to do, is trying to make sure that every point is linked to the exact same thing. And while it might seem that you're basically repeating yourself, and it does get a little bit annoying sometimes, it makes your writing much, much easier to understand, especially if the ideas you're talking about are overly complex, or if they tend to come across as a little bit vague. And particularly, you have to understand that your marker is trying to understand just as you are what you're trying to say. And if you interpret things or write things in different ways just to make it, give it variety, then what you're essentially doing is you're essentially just trying to confuse someone by adding different synonyms or different words which mean the things you're trying to suggest. So while you wouldn't necessarily repeat a word 1,000 times, you would repeat it enough. Your marker is able to understand what it is you're writing and be able to go through it and then be able to tick off that you have answered the question appropriately. So for instance, if I was trying to prove that a character is lonely, and then later on somewhere I say they're isolated, and I'm really trying to say that they're lonely, then really what you're doing is you're writing about something different. And that's, again, confusing, because lonely and isolated, their literal definitions are different. To have those things together and to basically to change halfway through and start talking about them being isolated instead, it either seems like you're trying to introduce isolated as a new idea, or you're just basically adding ingredients into the pot. And really what you should be trying to do is just try and keep it to one key word, so it's much, much easier for what it is you're writing to be interpreted and understood. And ultimately, look, a lot of essays are very, very difficult to read because of the fact that students have all these great ideas, and this is the thing, you don't want to be losing your great ideas. You don't want to be losing your great answers by changing the key words that refer to them all the time. And by coming up with all these different ways of describing what it is you're trying to talk about, what you're doing is you're throwing up the possibility that your marker's not going to understand what you're trying to go on about. So it's a very important consideration. Now, if you start with a keyword, stick to it. That's the basic philosophy. If I'm writing something or if I'm reading something, what I'm looking for is for them to continue to build on a keyword, continue to build upon an argument, without necessarily overdeveloping it, repeating it, but doing so in such a way that they're building on it, making it stronger and stronger each time.